Are you ready to sell your mom's estate? Are you really ready? Today, we're going to be talking about the process of selling and liquidating your mom's estate, your dad's estate, grandparents, spouse, best friend, aunt, uncle. It doesn't matter whose estate it is. But are you really ready to tackle that process? What does that look like? What are some of the things you can do to protect yourself and prepare yourself for what's coming ahead? I'm Jason Roski. I'm the only KC auction company here in Kansas City, Missouri, and this is Behind the Gavel with Jason. I'm just going to share this on my page real quick. And let's start talking about what I mean and what specific scenarios are we talking about. Excuse me. What I'm talking about mainly is when somebody passes away. We're not talking about when you downsize or you retire, you move to Florida or Arizona from the Northeast or from Kansas City. We're talking about when somebody passes away. It's the hardest situation to work through. It's the most challenging situation, the most challenging estate time in any family is when somebody passes away. Even if it's expected, there are still huge emotions and challenges involved with the process of working through an estate of a loved one. And we see this regularly, and many people approach it and attack the situation differently. And we want to talk about what we've seen, what we think has worked, what we think hasn't worked, and then some of the things you should do and be prepared for as you move forward. So let's, we're talking about when somebody passes away, and it's brutal. If your mom dies, it's the only person you've known in your entire life, your mom and your dad. You've known them, for your entirety of your life. It's the only other person like that, as if you have older siblings. And so it's a really, there's huge emotions there. There's huge connections. Even if you don't like anything in mom's house, you know what she did to collect those things, accumulate those things. And it can be a real hard burden to do things right by her and also by you. And the first thing we tell people is if you have any opportunity to do so, just do nothing. As long as you can, honestly. If you can do nothing for 6 months, if it's in a house that's paid for and you just have to pay the upkeep on it for 6 months, go ahead and do that. There's no rush. Make sure that the maintenance is taken care of and make sure it's not going to be broken into. And if your mom collected jewelry, you want to pull those things out and put them in a safety deposit box. But as far as the estate is concerned, lock the doors, walk away, pay some neighbor kid to mow the lawn, and be done with it for 6 months, even a year. Give yourself that time to grieve, and give your body and your mind a chance to settle and to understand and work through the new reality of not having. My mom, your mom, is probably one of the first people you call when you have a major life problem, major life challenge, and that person isn't there anymore to answer the phone. That person isn't there anymore to send a text or respond to an email and give you their advice. And so when that person is gone, you need to set a new normal. You need to set a new stratus of how do I approach this? My wife and I used to listen to Dave Ramsey a lot. Got us to the position where we could start this business and have it and last and succeed for as long as it has. And one of the things that Dave Ramsey says regularly is if you can do nothing for 6 months or a year, do that. Because you just don't know what your grief is going to look like. Everybody handles grief differently. Everybody processes grief differently. Some people want to go out and spend on a brand new car. Some people want to travel. Some people just want to curl up in a cocoon and do nothing. You don't know until you know, and the only way you're going to know is when it happens to you. And so there is no right or wrong. The only thing you can't do is undo something done during your grief. And so if you have the opportunity to sit and do nothing except the bare minimum, that is the first thing we suggest to people. And I tell people all the time, call us back in 6 months, call us back in a year. We're not going anywhere. We've been here for over a dozen years now. I've been in the antique industry for 30, give or take. I'm not going anywhere. We have clients we work with on a daily basis. But if you need that time, and I always tell people you need that time, even if you don't think that you do, it just makes it so much easier. What we see happen if people attack this process too quickly is that they don't realize how attached they are to the objects. They see too much of their mom and their dad in the pieces to be able to trust the process of a professional to get the job done correctly. And getting the job done correctly is different than doing the job that you would do. But understanding that the person you've hired, there's a reason why you've hired them, and they're doing the best job that they know how. But for you individually, after you've been through the funeral and you've gone through the finances and you said, they left us this money, they left us this house, they left us the antiques and the jewelry, we can set this here for 6 months and not do anything. We can do this in a year from now, or we have to do something right away. Sometimes you have to do something right away. If they're in an apartment, that the apartment complex isn't going to let that sit there empty, even if they're paid, because there's too many risks involved with something crazy happening, like a leaky pipe that nobody's in there to take care of or see. So you don't have that option. Pay professionals to pack everything up and put it in a storage pod for 6 months. Because I'll tell you, if you decide you have to sell it today, the only thing you can't undo is the selling of that asset and object today. If you can put it in a storage unit for a couple $100 for 6 months and revisit the situation, you're going to be some money out, but it's time and money well spent in the grieving process. I rarely recommend storing something just for the sake of storing it, but when you're in that grieving process, it's a different conversation. And so just take that time and analyze and realize that the only thing you can't do is undo actions you take in that process. And so 6 months, a year from now, and take some pictures, have an idea of what's in there, know where it's at, do some of those basic things, but don't get bogged down in the minutia of it. And what you might come to find out is that none of it is important to you personally. So you might come to find out that there are certain things that you just can't imagine not having around. And there are other things that you just, you may decide at the end of the 6 months or a year, I just want to hold it forever. I want to bring it home, put it in the basement, display what I can, and just keep it because I just can't let go. And that's perfectly fine if that's what you really feel you need to do. But understand, the only thing you can't do is undo an action. And so once you decide to go forward, you can't undo that. We work with clients regularly. We have one client that we're working with right now that took 6 months and it wasn't enough time. And so there are issues and ramifications of that for them and for us. And we have another client we just signed a contract with yesterday. His wife died 3 years ago and he's finally ready. He's finally ready to sell the objects. There was a second marriage. He's finally ready to sell the objects that she brought to the relationship and sell the house and move back to Indiana where he is from. But it took him 3 years, but he had the luxury of the time to do that. So again, if you can take the time and just be with that grief, it's probably the best thing you'll ever do for yourself and for your family. Because if you have to rush through it, nothing ever good comes out of rushing through this situation. One of the other things that we talk about is when you rush through an estate, when you rush through the process of an estate, things are missed. And a perfect example of that is a picker came in this week and showed me this metal. And it doesn't look like a whole lot. And it was given as a gift in 1960 or 69 on the side. And it was in a box lot at an auction. And it's solid gold. This is a $4,000 chunk of gold in my fingers that was bought in a box lot at an auction here in Kansas City that we'll be selling in April with a $3,000 to $5,000 estimate on it because there's just $4,000 worth of gold in it today. That value will fluctuate some. But I am pretty certain that the family whose estate was sold could use another $4,000. And I'm pretty certain that the speed at which they liquidated it may have caused this to be overlooked. And so you want to make sure that you take the time to really look through what your parents have. Was your dad in academics? Was he a politician? Was he a business owner? Would he have received gifts over the course of his life that might be out of the norm, like a gold token? Was your mom the first teacher at an academy? Was your mom a doctor? Was she the first one to go through college in your family? sometimes those little things can make a big difference as far as what the marketplace is going to say is worth to them. So you want to make sure that you really, by taking that time and having those conversations with your family about just anything and everything related to your family, to the people who have gone before you, you might find out things that would make an otherwise normal estate an interesting estate, or find things of hidden value, like a $4,000 token that you just didn't realize was there. And so you want to make sure that you take the time to do that. So again, thanks for watching Behind the Gavel with Jason here today. We're talking about how to process a loved one's estate during that time of grief. It's a challenging topic. It's a challenging process. And so we always counsel people to take that time and just grieve. If you can park the estate, if you can just do nothing, do as little as you have to, it's always the best option at that time. So without going into, without much further ado, I'm going to wrap this up here in just a minute. Again, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please comment here. We see these comments regularly. If you have questions you want to ask us directly relating to your estate, you can always send us a private message. Give us a phone call at 816-283-3633, or give us an email at info@kcauctioncompany.com. And again, this is such a personal, powerful, challenging process that everybody will go through at some point in your life. The loss of a close loved one that you have to process their estate. We always suggest take as much time as you can. If you have to make quick decisions, try and buy as much time as you can. Take the items and put them in a storage facility. Just do as little as you have to get through the initial grieving period. And that's 6 months to a year. And you'll find that you'll make different decisions 6 months and a year after the funeral than you would the day of, or the week of, or the month of. And you just don't want to look back and have regrets that you did something that you can't undo. So please take that time, analyze, and just do as little as you have to get through that situation. Again, thank you all so much for watching. We're talking about snow again here in Kansas City this weekend. This has been one of the snowiest winters across the nation that I can ever remember. And they're talking about more in the future here in the next week and the next month or so here in Kansas City. Hopefully you're enjoying some sort of springtime temperatures of where you're at. We have some great things coming up, a couple of big jewelry auctions, a great consignment auction with some fabulous pieces coming up through March and April. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, again, please post them here or give us a call or an email. Have a great afternoon and a great day.